I am going to review my Ruby Life Pool run on Tyran 25 and kind of just go through the entire run. You know, what I do for every pull, my defensives, Incarn, general tips for DPS and tanking, healing as well, and then hopefully it'll help. Okay, so for my route, real quick, I'm going to show it. Give me a second. This is the route I run. We always invis the first Juggernaut, and for the most part, you just do these regular pulls. Don't think there's too much special in this first area or in the upper area except for perhaps pull 7 where we double pull sometimes, and this is just dependent on whether we're a little behind on time or not. Okay, anyways, we will hop back into the video. So you'll see us pre-invis on the countdown timer right here, and you need to use a max rank invis plot unless you have potion extender, the embellishment. You will be able to get past if you have a roar. I don't know if Wind Rush works, but roar definitely works. If you do not have those speed buffs, then you will not be able to make it past without a potion extender. Oh, this is not even okay. This was what we had a rogue in this one, so whatever. We weren't supposed to use a shroud there, but we did anyways. And right here, I did a slightly different pull. I think this was a scuff the run from a couple weeks back. We'll see though. So for this first pull, the main things are you have 2 Chill Weavers. I know there's 3 in here currently, but that's because I decided to pull a 3rd Chill Weaver. And I believe I played a different route on this specific run. You definitely don't need to. I'm pretty sure, like I said again, this is a fucked route. As far as these Chill Weavers go, you just have your DPS interrupt 1 each if possible, so if you can, try to assign them. Honestly, it doesn't matter too much. So like during Incarn, you are absolutely fine. You cannot die. If you do die, that just means you're not pressing Frenzy Regen enough. And then I chained the 2nd Chill Weaver in. I think this is where I messed up, where I scuffed the route a little bit, because I was supposed to pull another Chill Weaver in, and I didn't. These whelps that I pull is 4%. The whelps are not efficient, but they do help reset your Incarn, and you can cleave it with these other packs. So it should be fairly safe. They do hurt a little bit, so do be careful of that. Their cold claws are magic damage. If you pull too many all at once with like 3 Chill Weavers, then you're probably dead. So be very careful with that. Oh, never mind. We did not mess up, actually. We shrouded this. Okay, so right here, this is a tricky one, so I'm going to rewind a little bit. Depending on how fast you get to this point of the dungeon, that Chill Weaver right there, hopefully you guys can see it, pats. It pats from this Earthshaper to the other Earthshaper. These 2 Earthshapers are on the walls. The Earthshapers do not pat, but the Chill Weaver does. And you need the Chill Weaver and the Earthshaper. However, if the Chill Weaver is all the way over there on the left side, you cannot pull it yet because you will aggro the big rock boy and you don't want him. So when that does happen, you have 2 options. Either pull the mini boss inside the room, because leaving him inside the hallway, he can charge directly down the hallway, and you can risk a DPS dying if they're not paying attention. So it's just something to pay attention to. if you have a bad pat, when do you want to pull the next 2 mobs? Or alternatively, just have one of your DPS go pull it, which is probably the better idea, having one of your DPS go do it. But you know, they're gonna complain about, you know, not doing DPS or shit like that. For the most part, as far as the mini boss goes, it does hurt a lot. If you're having troubles with it, definitely try to pull up Rage for it, for the Steel Barrage. You can pull up 2 Iron First stacks, sometimes even 3. And then as far as the Chill Weaver goes, again, I had mentioned having a focus target macro, as well as a focus interrupt kick. As far as the focus interrupt, it's just the way my macro works is it'll kick a focus target if there is one, otherwise it will kick my main target. So it's fairly straightforward. But generally speaking, for every Blazing Barrage, on Fort weeks, I press 1 defensive plus 1 Frenzied Regen, every single one. On Tyran weeks, it doesn't hurt too much. Alright, let me rewind real quick. For Meldrusa, opening up on this boss, she absolutely fucks, because you will have no Iron First stacks if you don't chain properly. So what you want to do ideally is immediately after killing this guy, you go straight into the boss while your Iron First stacks are still rolling. Otherwise, her first melee will destroy you. I have gotten one shot by this, so you want to be very careful with that. And always try to pop a defensive, or rather, you need to have a defensive on pull. If you do not have a defensive on pull, you will get fucked. Because again, you don't have the 5% DR from Mangle, or was it Gore proc? And you don't have, you know, Tooth and Claw procs up either. So you definitely want to be pressing, and your Tooth and Claw. Sorry. I was gonna say Moonfire, but you obviously have Moonfire up the moment you tag her. Okay, so for this boss fight, generally speaking, during the regular like ice bolts, your healer should be able to heal most of it up usually. So you do, not that you don't want to press a defensive during the regular portions where she's, you know, dropping the icicles, things like that, and she's just shooting some ice bolts. You want to press Frenzied Regions during that if you have to, but otherwise let your healer know you need healing during those portions specifically. And then it is during these chill storms is where you want to pop your defensives, okay? During the chill storms is where you want to pop defensives. And usually, at least for Tyran weeks, I play very defensive. I am playing with a Disc Priest. Disc Priests are not the best at single target healing. Although other healers aren't great either, but if you're playing with like a Resto Druid will definitely be better. Anyways, so as you can see, I can drop really low here, and the key thing about this boss fight is trying your best not to panic. The general rule of thumb is between every chill storm, the boss will cast roughly 4 ice bolts. However, when she phases and there's a chill storm, she will not cast any more ice bolts. So or frigid shards. I'll call them frigid shards, because that's what they're actually called. I'd like to save Incarn for this first intermission, because these whelps actually do hurt a lot, okay? They do hurt a lot on top of the Frost Overlord, and if your team does not kill the whelps immediately, when you break the shield, she will continue frigid sharding, and that's where you can die very easily if you don't have Incarn. So I have Incarn here, you have infinite frenzied regions. If you press a defensive while Incarn is up, you are trolling. You do not want to press a single defensive while Incarn is rolling, because you need all of them for afterwards, I guess, for this regular phase, I want to call it. So during these regular phases, the way I usually still like to have defensives up, but I'll stagger between my Tooth and Claw procs, Rage of the Sleeper, Bark Skin, Pulverize. You don't need all these defensives, but I do like to play safe, especially on Tyrant weeks, because this key isn't too tight on time. This is one of the more lenient keys in terms of time. So I will I'll play more defensive, and I'll play extra with Pulverize and a defensive trinket. If you can notice on the bottom hand, I do have Burgeoning Seed as well. Alright, so you will not have Incarn for both sets of intermissions. You only have it for one or the other. So on the second intermission, or on whichever one you don't have Incarn, you need to be paying attention. You have to press a defensive during it. I believe I pressed Spark Skin on that one. Let me rewind real quick. Oh no, we had Barrier, that's right. I didn't need to yet. But I do Pulverize out when she comes out of her thing. Because like I said, her Frigid Shards do fuck. And then I press Bark Skin as well. You can start overlapping certain defensives early if you want. Because Incarn does come off cooldown slightly after the second intermission. Slightly after. And so you can start overlapping your cooldowns that are roughly like 45 seconds or so. And the reason being is, you know, Incarn, no defensives, you don't need it. And then those other defensives will come back off cooldown after Incarn ends. And the other thing I guess I forgot to mention is Bristling Fur. I usually save Bristling Fur either for second intermission, the intermission I don't have Incarn, or I use them on the Chill Storms. That way it helps a bit with the aggro, because bears will have aggro issues, okay? They definitely will have aggro issues during intermission. The set that you have Incarn should be okay. The set you don't have Incarn, Bristling Fur will help a lot because you'll be spamming Thorns of Iron, and that should help quite a bit. Why skip Jug? The Juggernaut, the Rock Boy, is very, very high health, and he does actually do a lot of damage. You need to pull him with a lot of mobs for him to do no damage to you. So you can do that. I think it's fine for Guardian Druid generally, but it is generally speaking inefficient. Alright, so for the Thunderhead Dragon, the first 3 bites are followed by breath usually, and then the 4th bite is after the breath. So the sequence is third chomp, the 3rd bite into breath, and then there's another breath before the 4th bite. Okay, and the reason why I point this out is because it actually does matter in terms of your defensives. You usually will use, it depends on how many SIs you're running actually, but if you're only running 1 SI, usually speaking, it's like Bark Skin on the first, you have Rage Incarn for another, or I mean, let's leave out Incarn I guess for now, but let's just say Bark Skin for 1, Rage for 1, and then you have SI for another, and then afterwards you will have, what was it called? You will have either Rage or Bark up again for the 4th. I think what I normally do is I don't include Rage in here, and I use Rage for damage. And I'll usually do something like this is on a Tyrant week, so it doesn't matter too much, which is why I do this. But I use Rage for damage usually on Tyrant weeks, and I'll usually do like Incarn Rage on the first one. And then second one, I'll do a bark skin. Third is SI, and then the fourth, your rage will be coming off cooldown. It seems like this run I didn't do that. I saved Incarn for the second pull. I want to say this might be because we had planned on double pulling, perhaps, but I'm not entirely sure, and we decided not to. I really don't remember. But we sometimes will double pull either this pack with the Pat or the Pat with the next Inferno. It's one or the other. Okay, so real quick for these Flame Dancers. Alright, Flame Dancers are very dangerous if you sit on top of them during the initial cast of the dance. Always have a defensive up when they're about to cast. Okay, so here's the double pull. But always have a defensive up when they're about to Flame Dance, otherwise they will chunk very heavily. And usually I will stop the Flame Dance with either my Disorienting Roar or a Typhoon, one or the other. So as you can see right there, that was a Typhoon. Now, another thing I'll point out right now, and you'll see it in the next pack, is this second Destroyer's Inferno cast always will overlap with the Flame Dance. And this is the one where you have to pop a defensive, and like, you know, a big defensive. You want to pop an SI, otherwise it will hurt a lot. I've died to this many times, so just be very careful. I had Incarn there, so it was safe. But after that, everything else should be fairly straightforward, I would say. You just need to control the Flame Dancer, focus on the Cinder Weaver to help kicks, and then aside from that, there isn't really too much else. I'm gonna fast forward a little bit. Okay, so real quick for this next thing, always look ahead to see where the Fire Dragon is. And if you see the Fire Dragon is sitting there, then you're good to go. So we just saw the Fire Dragon land, and you know I'm very safe. When you see the dragon fly up, you want to wait. You can pull these Scorchlings and start damaging them, but you want to wait for the dragon to fly by first. And then after that, I will pull this pack towards the stairs so that my range have a little bit more room, you know, kind of where the Destroyer is. Usually I'll do that. Otherwise, your range will kind of sit in Africa, and it does risk pulling the dragon. But my group knows that I'm playing with Floorkisser, Big, and Rama, all part of a group, so they all know with the dragon how the pat works. So I don't, you know, doesn't really matter too much. Generally speaking, you just want to pull the Destroyer over here a little bit when the circle comes out to create a bit of space. So right here at the edge, they can stand. And the other thing that I always forget to do, because I have Mind Soothe in my group, is you want to be paying attention to when the dragon flies away while you're pulling that pack so you can get these Scorchlings. You can pull in the Scorchlings early. Usually I don't mind because I pull the Scorchlings with this next pack. So this one is where I will pay attention to when the dragon flies away. When the dragon flies away, I will pull the Scorchlings in. However, if you don't have a Mind Soothe or something like that, you want to pull the Scorchlings with... Here, let me rewind a little bit. Let me explain a little bit more. If you don't have Mind Soothe or Shroud, you want to pull these Scorchlings early, and the reason why is you can sneak by on this right side of the tree. You can't sneak by on the left, but you can sneak by on the right. And you don't need invis or anything, you can sneak by on the right without the dragon aggroing. You can't go on the left, you will pull this one, what are they called? Shockcaster. So just be aware of that. And then right here, just same stuff again. You'll see me just kind of looking back, waiting to grab the Scorchlings. I'm just going to keep turning every few seconds, ready to go pull. And then once I pick them up, I will drag them back. Okay? And you want to drag them back early, especially the caster, otherwise you risk pulling the Flyer Dragon. As you can see right there, the Flyer Dragon barely didn't pull. And that was because this caster did not get interrupted. We needed to kick that caster in. I should not have been the one to interrupt that. Somebody else should have probably gone over to interrupt / knock. But that all happened because I knocked at a weird angle to stop the Flame Dance. Just something to note. Okay, now for this boss. All right. This boss, I know a lot of people have had questions about this boss because they say it hurts a lot. Usually speaking, it doesn't hurt too much. I think usually speaking, it hurts because you're not paying attention to when the thing is coming out. You're not paying attention when the Searing Blows come out, I should say. Because the Searing Blows do hurt. It's not that they don't hurt, but it doesn't chunk you as much as the first boss, I would say. So you'll see here, I have, I'll have a Bark Skin popped prior to it coming out, prior to the Searing Blows. And that helps a lot. And sometimes if I do have a Tooth and Claw, I'll quickly Tooth and Claw the boss before swapping back to the Elemental. But as you can see there, I dropped to 50%, yes. But, I mean, that's about it. I press one Frenzied Regen, I'm done. So, it's not too bad for me. Not saying you don't need heals, you still need a lot of heals. Don't get me wrong. I believe it is the third Searing Blow that will hurt more because it overlaps perfectly with the Firestorm, if I remember correctly. With the Inferno, whatever thing. And so that one will hurt more. I believe it's this one. It's either the third or fourth. It's one or the other. It overlaps perfectly. That one was close. Might be third. Not sure actually. But I don't know. Like I said, as long as you have a defensive pre-pop, the boss really doesn't hurt much. I think it is the fourth, actually. I think it is the fourth. Oh yeah, it's the fourth. Yep, right there. So that overlap is perfect. This is the one that actually hurts. But as you can see, I mean, this was with Rage of the Sleeper and Barrier. Yes, I did drop to 20%, but I still have 2 SI charges that I'm saving for Christmas. So, this is pretty simple. Oh, I guess in terms of, I forgot to mention boss positioning. A lot of people don't do this properly. Specifically talking about range DPS, but baiting boulders. So, baiting boulders is very important as range, and it actually has a lot to do with baiting the Ritual Blaze. What my group normally does is we bait the ad ahead on the path. That way it forces everybody else to go behind, and so you naturally the boulder is already baited towards the back. So we always have our range, because it always goes on range, and we have the range go ahead, and then that way the boulder will always go behind. That time Rama didn't go backwards, but Usually, if your range DPS specifically do that, then your builders will always be clean. Because this boss fight can go very, very wrong very quickly if you have bad builder baits. And I swear, every single time I plug this key, people do not bait builders properly. So if you're a ranged DPS, what you can do is just go ahead and just bait the ad. Bait the ad ahead, and that way it forces your DPS to go backwards, and that way your builder will always roll backwards. Otherwise, just hope your DPS know how to bait boulders to the side. You incarn that guard or hold your boss? That was the old question. Guard. Yes, I do. You don't need incarn on the first boss on pole. I usually like to hold incarn for first intermission anyways, so I never incarn on pole. Alright, so on Fort Weeks, this okay, this is a different, yeah, this was a different route I did. This is not the same route. I pulled these Storm Warriors, the two at the top of the stairs, into this pack for percent, but I'm pretty sure we do not need this. So as far as these warriors go, they do kind of like an AoE thunderclap around them. You can technically kite the thunderclaps and outrange it, but they cast it so frequently that it's kind of hard. And I almost died there because I just wasn't paying attention. I'm going to fast forward a little bit. So these thunder channelers, their thunderbolts secretly do a lot of damage. Oh, I don't know if it's a secret, but they do a lot of damage. And I do a very big pull here with Incarn because, you know, that's the only way to live for me. And the prio target is the Thunder Channeler for us. And you will see in a bit, when my Incarn runs out, I will probably start kiting soonish once I have used up my SI charges, hopefully, if I do use them. I swear to God, if I don't use SI charges, I'm actually saving Christmas here. Okay, I use one there. And then I start kiting, hopefully. Oh no, I call for a PS. Okay. This is a raging week, so I better be kiting, like, soon. Otherwise, I'm just dead. Yep, I'm trolling. I actually don't remember that death. But as far as the Flame Channeler goes, it's a two melee kick rotation. Try to always have one additional melee DPS rotating kicks with you. Kill target is still Storm Channeler for us though. Should be for most groups, to be honest. Alright, I'm just gonna fast forward a little bit. On this guy, just kind of be quick with your kicks because his cast also leaves a dot, and it does. It's kind of lethal. The main thing I would pay attention to on this guy usually is on Sanguine Weeks. The warriors, you want to control them on Sanguine Weeks. Make sure you know they don't die on top of him. And then on Fort Weeks, I do believe a lot of groups lost this guy. We normally don't because we have two priests that we normally run with. So we just end the little lads so that he doesn't have the shield. Otherwise, you know, you can try to run with Blood Elves, classes that have purges, etc. And then again, like I said, warriors do hurt a lot still. So you want to pay attention to that. And you can kite early if you want. Right there, I used the pulverize on one of the warriors just to minimize the damage. Now, for the dragon... Where's the dragon? Okay, for the dragon, I have a Wind Weak Aura. And I'll try to link that in the description below. The Wind Weak Aura will tell you where you want to place your next flame. And the reason why you want to place your flame over there is because the wind will blow the flame off of the platform. So right here, oh, it seems like the weak ore isn't working at the moment. It's usually near the top of my screen, but generally the winds will always go counterclockwise. So I believe the first one is at the edge, but there's no flame spit yet. However, the next one will be towards the X side of the room, the X marker side of the room, and then you place that one over there. The next one will be towards the entrance of the room, so towards the bridge. We dropped it right here, which is fine because it just blows it, towards the bridge. Doesn't need to be off the platform, but it's far enough to where it won't be an issue for us in phase 2. And then pretty much it just rotates every single flame spit from there on out is just kind of counterclockwise. So it's right pillar, then bridge, then left pillar, then the edge of the room, which is boss spawn. So right here, that's a boss spawn one, and then wind is gonna blow it towards the edge, and then it just rotates from there. Now, one other trick for this boss is the dragon. Also, if you ever get the flame spit on you as the tank and Storm Slam is coming up, sometimes it will overlap. Definitely press an SI, you will die. It's a bit RNG when you get the flame spit, so just pay attention to that. So right here, this is what I was gonna point out. We actually held damage a bit. We stopped doing damage to the dragon until right now. So we kind of lowered damage on the previous drop down so that we have the dragon low enough to phase on this drop down. And during this breath is when we lust. And the reason we do it this way is so that we have less flame spits on phase 2, because technically this is still phase 1. And so he will continue channeling this breath for a very long time. So right here, he's already, way past the 50%, and he's still channeling, and then he flies up, he lands, he needs to wait for the guy to go up, and by the time the guy actually mounts, and this is phase 2, he's already at 25%, as you can see. First flame spit comes out when the dragon is already 25%. And so this lowers the number of flame spits you have by like 1 or 2, which is very important on a Tyrant week to pay attention to that. And I usually save Incarn for this phase because the healer has like no GCDs to heal you during flame spits. So that is another thing to pay attention to. Aside from that, pretty much, every Storm Slam is just defensive +1 frenzied region. Not gonna go too much into that because I think most tanks know that by now. But every Storm Slam, again, just 1 defensive, 1 frenzied region. In phase 1, if you don't want to do that, I think it's okay. On Fort weeks specifically, but on Tyrant weeks, always just 1 defensive, 1 frenzied region. And Tooth and Claw can be used as one of the defensives. It will not one-shot you, just don't panic. The key thing is to not panic. Tooth and Claw can be used as 1 defensive. It will not one-shot you, it will drop you low, but that is absolutely fine because there's no other damage coming afterwards. Aside from that cloud burst thing, but you can react to that in time. Alright, that's pretty much about it for the run. I do believe this route was not a very good one, so would not recommend. I will have I think the routes will be linked in the description below, I will link them in the description below. And I'll try to get that win in the week or also linked below. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one.